So welcome back to the shop, everybody. My name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. Thanks so much for stopping by if this is your first time visiting the channel. All right, so today we are going to talk about, review, and test something that y'all know I'm extremely passionate about. Living down here in Florida, power outages are just all too common for us. And speaking of that, I actually tried to get this device in last week right before the hurricane hit Florida, but wasn't able to. But hey, now's still a good time to test it. It's still hurricane season down here in Florida. And with that said, our thoughts and prayers go out to all the people down there that's just south of us in Central Florida that's still dealing with just major outages, destruction, life-changing events. So my wife and I are no strangers to power outages and generators. We started purchasing our first generators years and years and years ago after we had enough back-to-back storms. Believe it or not, an ice storm even hit us down here in Florida and took out our power longer than just about any hurricane did for us. So while we have a couple different style generators, there's one style that I have never had before that I've been really desiring, and that is a portable style 4-stroke generator. All right, so I know a lot of y'all are looking for generators, and for some reason I have never actually did a gasoline generator review on the channel. I don't know why. So that's what we're gonna go over today. I'm excited about getting my hands on this. I've always wanted one. So let's break it in together, learn all about it. So for starters, this particular generator right here is by PowerSmart. It's rated at 2200 starting watts, 1900 continuous. So a decent amount of power for most of your home or RV needs. On the front side, it's got 210 volt, 15 amp outlets, a 12 volt outlet, a couple of different style USBs right here, reset buttons and breakers. This is your fuel off and on, your choke, eco mode. I'm excited to try that. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And you have a few different run light indicators, oil, low oil indicator, things such as that. And this particular generator right here can also be paralleled with another identical model to go up to 3,800 watts. So you can get a parallel kit and hook two together to double your power. Has a little over 1 gallon tank, you feel right here. Little cover that pops off for spark plug access right there, and a little door that opens down here to put your oil in and check your oil level. So I know a lot of people are familiar with this style generator because, well, Honda come out with one a long time ago and they've been very successful with it. And a lot of other companies have kind of followed suit. So what really piques my interest is, well, it makes a similar amount of power. It's extremely quiet. That's something I've never really had in a generator before, or at least it claims. We're about to find out. Very lightweight, y'all. 42 pounds if I remember correctly. I mean, that's nothing. I've never had a generator that I could just pick up and tote around like that, at least a gas generator. But here's the kicker. This is about 1/3 the cost of the Honda that's, well, comparable in most ways right there. So that is a huge, and I mean huge, cost savings. So over here on the other side is your little pull handle. This is a pull start only, which shouldn't be a problem with a little 79cc engine. So let's go ahead and fill it up with a little bit of oil, gas, fire it up. We're not going to talk too terribly much and do big unboxings on the channel here. It's not what we do. We want to see it run. So we're going to test a variety of things today, and I really want to test the run time, especially with that eco mode. So we'll talk about that real quick. The eco mode button right here actually tones and runs the generator at a lower RPM, but it produces less power as a result, but it's supposed to be extremely quiet. But you can always flip that button off. The generator brings itself back up to make that full 1900 watts of continuous power. The other thing really worth mentioning with this style generator right here compared to the, well, big gas ones that I have here, this is an inverter style generator. That's what's so great about these. With all the new sensitive electronics that we have in medical equipment, computers, cameras like you're watching me on, I have been really desiring one. If we're without power for days and days and days, I like an inverter style generator to charge up my laptop, to run our power equipment, to run a BiPAP or CPAP, things like that. You're gonna get a much cleaner sine wave power out of this that should be a lot better for your electronics. Some of these old style cheap generators produce relatively dirty power that can give certain things fits. So read the owner's manual that it comes with. It gives you several different options for oil depending on where you're at and the heat that you have in your area. Because we're in very hot Florida, we can run all the way up to a straight 30 weight. This time of year being the winter, the temperature range in the manual showed 10W30 would be perfectly fine, and I happen to have some of that. By the way, it does not come with oil, So you'll have to pick that up at your local supplier. I recommend you get the larger containers such as this so you can change the oil as you run this. While you can run these generators on standard gas, I highly recommend running non-ethanol if you can find that in your area. That is all I run in my small equipment. Now on top of this gas cap, it has a vented design that you can lock closed, probably for transportation. Need to make sure that's open so this can breathe. All right, so we're gonna turn our fuel to the on position. This is the first start ever, brand new. Let's see here, we'll put eco mode. I'm gonna put it on to start because I bet it won't allow the engine to rev all the way up, is my understanding. Pull the choke. This may take a couple of pulls right here. Then we'll let it run for a minute and warm up. Wow. 2 pulls, brand new. Y'all, here's the thing. Listen to how quiet that is. Oh my goodness. I have never in my life heard a generator that quiet. Okay, so the microphone is on me. I'm on the back side with the exhaust now. I'm sure you can hear that, but as soon as I walk away back over here to you, that is so stinking quiet. I'm gonna kick the eco mode off and let's see if it revs up like is my understanding. Okay, so obviously a little louder, revved up. Still not crazy loud, y'all, at all. Oh my goodness, that is so quiet. So this, I can see this being a really popular unit with those of y'all that camp. I could sleep in a tent with that run, you know, off a few feet with an extension cord coming back. It's something I like to do with a unit like this. I want to see if it's providing steady power and the hertz. I mean, this is supposed to be stable, clean power. We're looking for right around 60 hertz. That's what all of your electronics are designed to run at. So let's plug into my kilowatt meter right here. So it's producing 123 volts. That's great because I've seen a lot of other generators produce 110. And let's check the hertz out. Check that out, a stable 60, 59.960. That is very steady and just what I was hoping to see. Okay, let's go ahead and kick off some tests. I've let this warm up for quite a while, so it should be good to ramp on up and take off the eco mode. By the way, y'all can see I have 2 huge open shop doors here. Never run a generator inside, it's extremely dangerous, but I'm very well vented here. Okay, we're coming into my shop. You can see I have the extension cord run from the generator, and it just so happens I have a full-size refrigerator in here. Okay, I just kicked the temperature up on the generator. You can see I have the refrigerator plugged in right here, and I heard the generator really kind of bog down, ramp up, but no issue starting the compressor on this refrigerator. Sorry, I just don't have 2 camera and mic setups for y'all to hear that. So right now we are pulling a steady 130 watts according to my kilowatt meter, which is nothing. What you've got to keep in mind, it's the initial surge and startup of compressors that'll pull really high wattages and amperages for a brief second. That's why I just heard the generator, you know, kind of really ramp up right there for a split second. And then now I could go back to eco mode, no problem at all, because I'm only pulling 130 watts with the compressor engaged. Now, once the refrigerator reaches temperature, compressor is off, the refrigerator is pulling 0 watts. My everyday viewers has already seen me do a ton of tests on the channel. We know that this big deep freezer right here doesn't have anywhere near the surge startup, although it's got similar running wattage as this refrigerator. This refrigerator has a much harder starting compressor. So that's the one I wanted to test. As expected, no problems for a little generator like that. As a matter of fact, seeing the wattages that I'm seeing, you could run multiple freezers and refrigerators on that generator. What you have to keep in mind is you need to plug one in at a time, let the surge of the compressor kick in, then you can move on to another, say, freezer or refrigerator, allow it to kick on, compressor kick in. If you were to plug them all in an extension cord and then go plug that into the generator at one time, you probably would trip it because you would have such a heavy initial surge from multiple compressors engaging on these units. So y'all can probably hear the generator out there ramped up now off of my microphone. But something else I want to test is a window unit. This is very popular to run, especially in our situation. Typically our main power outages come from thunderstorms and hurricanes, and it gets blazing hot at times. So I know a lot of people like to stick window units in and run, because sometimes you're without power for days and days and days. It's been over a week that a lot of people are just south of us without power right now, and no idea when they're going to get it back. So I'm going to kick on just the fan. That shouldn't be any problem. As y'all can see, the fan's pulling what? 60 watts, absolutely nothing. Let's go ahead and turn this way down, engage the compressor, and see if y'all can hear the generator kick in out there. Tell you what I'll do, I'll put the mic just outside the door. All right, so y'all heard the generator kick in. Actually, this wasn't nearly as hard on the generator as that refrigerator was, but it handled both of the surges, no issue. And right now with the compressor engaged, you're pulling about a steady, somewhere around 300 watts. Again, that shouldn't be a problem for this. I could flip it in eco mode right now and it could run the AC no problem. It's just that initial surge of a compressor. Okay, so the next thing I want to test is a heater. Let's face it, a lot of people use generators for power outage situations with ice storms and snowstorms. While we've only ever had that once here in Florida, it's not common here, but it's worth testing, because I know a lot of people don't care about the ACs, they want to know about a heater. Now, a heater is going to put the highest continuous draw on this that I'm probably going to today. All right, so here is the fan, pulling a whopping 24 watts, no big deal. Let's go ahead and kick this on low heat, see what the generator does. Okay, it's changed tone over there. You can tell it's got a load on it now. We're staying around 650 watts, a little less. It went all the way up to 750 watts. So that's a good steady load. Let's go to high. Now you can hear the generator's got a decent load on it. So we're at 1,340 watts and climbing, heading to 1,400. So this gives you an idea of how much of a load you're putting on stuff with a heating element. It's one of the hardest draws on a generator. So we're back down to 1,250 watts, but it went all the way up to 1,400. Keep in mind, that's only a few hundred watts shy of max capacity of one of these. Okay, so y'all can probably hear the generator. Just put it in eco mode. I cannot get over how quiet that is. If you're camping and just running some fans and TV and electronics, that is so stinking quiet. Eco mode would do that no problem. So let's put this on low and see what it does. Okay, so even in eco mode, it's ramping itself up to where it needs to be to maintain, but still very quiet. So we just about hit 800 watts right there, and that didn't trip out eco mode. I'm gonna go to high, even though I think that's over capacity for that mode. It's ramping on up and taking care of it. Make sure the hertz are still good. Everything looks okay. I'm gonna take it out of eco mode. All right, so we know we have enough power over there to run just about any power tool I can plug into it as far as continuous wattage goes, any 110 volt appliance. But what about, again, that surge or really binding up something like this 15 amp table saw? Typically, you're not gonna find tools that are any higher than 15 amps because that's what your residential home circuits, most of them are rated at. Some go to 20, yes, but a lot are 15 amps. So the spinning of the blade, no problem. You're pulling low wattage like that. It's the initial startup of that, the surge of that motor, and then ripping down something like a thick 2x4. That puts that motor under a heck of a lot of stress, ultimately your generator too. So will this actually run a 15 amp table saw and rip a long rip on a 2x4? So as y'all can hear, I have the generator in non-eco mode. It does not need to be in that mode for this. When I kick this on, I bet you're gonna hear a heck of a surge in that generator. Hopefully, this works. Okay, no problems. Now, yes, when I kicked this saw on, you heard that generator really ramp up. And what was funny is whenever I could hear the tone of the saw changing because I was really binding it up, ripping that thick of wood, I could hear the generator changing its tone to compensate and make sure it kept a steady voltage. All right, well, thus far, I am definitely impressed. I was not expecting it to be as quiet as it is. That is something I love. It's run everything I've thrown at it, and it's extremely lightweight. Boy, is that nice. So one of the last things I want to test is run time. These are supposed to be very efficient as well. So I've got a fan that'll pull a steady draw all day long. And the manual says at a quarter load on this, quarter load of 1900 continuous watts, we should be able to get 10 hours of run time. That's a heck of a lot of run time. This fan happens to pull about 450, 460 watts on high, which is getting very close to that quarter load. It's the most perfect test piece that I have, especially since it stays relatively continuous. So I'm about to top this gas tank off, put this in eco mode, and we're putting this thing right to the test. I'm gonna let it run 10 plus hours till it runs out of fuel. That fan quits working, and well, it'll be tonight by the time I get done with this test. We'll see how the run time is on this as well. I hope it's as close as what they're saying, because if I can get 10 hours out of 1 gallon of fuel, or a little over a gallon, that's amazing. I'm used to these big generators that just drink it up. Starts really easy too. I like that. All right, I'm gonna run it this way so the exhaust blows outside all day long. And just for a little bit of data collection, I'm going to leave my kilowatt meter plugged in, running this, and I'll periodically monitor the wattage, although I expect that to stay quite continuous. 457 watts. That's very good. All right, y'all, so I've been keeping an eye on this generator all day long. It just shut off. So here's the thing. We are right at, I mean, dead on 9 hours of runtime. So let's check and see how hot it is. I've been checking on that periodically. No issues. So y'all can see it is late in the day, getting towards dark. We were over there hanging out, getting ready to cook on the porch, and I just heard it tone down. So here's the awesome thing. I can feel some heat coming off of the exhaust. I'm not gonna touch that. I feel heat coming out of the case, but the case itself is honestly cool. It really is. The front is cool. Everything feels awesome. So this is one of those things, okay? Take it for what it's worth. The fan cycles up and down as the wind was blowing in the shop today. Sometimes I seen 400 watts, sometimes I seen 480 watts. So regardless, all these numbers are still a quarter of, well, the load supposedly, and a little less. And we got 9 hours versus the manual saying 10 hours. Am I complaining with that? No. Me and Tiffany, my wife, were just over there talking. This thing has been running on 1 gallon of gas for 9 straight hours. None of my other generators can even come remotely close to that. So think about that. That was a steady load. What can you run, like say freezers, refrigerators, or even window units that run at less continuous wattage, cycle off and on? This was continuous all day long. I don't know how long this thing would run on a gallon of gas in those scenarios when you have things that cycle off and on. Regardless, if I have to fill this up with 2 gallons a day, holy smokes, man, holy smokes. Okay, so I'm gonna let that wrap the test up. It's getting dark, as you can see. Thus far, I love that little thing. We can't get over how quiet it is. While we were over at the house right there, my wife just mentioned, she said she could hear the fan more than she could hear the generator. I love how quiet it is. I love how you can tote it around, how lightweight it is. And it started everything I asked it to today. It was really hard to beat an inverter style generator just like that right there. So if you're interested in it, links down in the description. I'm going to continue to run mine, use it around the property, test it out. If I have any issues, I will let you know. By all means, come back, drop a comment down here on this video if you have questions about it, or if it's 6 months from now and you want to know, hey, is it still running good? Any issues? I promise I'll let you know. Thank y'all so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Catch you on the next video.